build first of all. So just give it a sec. It's gonna. There it is. Now, I
had to
believe
play around with it.
I believe this is your build, right? You've got
Yeah.
Okay, because I've got two different Illinois and two different builds. So let's take a look at what you've got here for your modules. Main armaments mod 1 makes perfect sense. These are Des Moines turrets. You don't want to lose them. So I totally see you going for that. Why did you pick engine room protection?
Because when I first played it, my engine room was getting knocked out.
Okay, interesting. Um, Generally speaking, as a battleship, I would think that you'd be better off going for the fire and flood resistance. But if your experience is telling you differently, then that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Pet the Stevie for you. There is a command that will force me to do that. Yes, for I think it's 1,000 channel points, but we'll do that in between replays. You went for artillery plotting room 1. That makes perfect sense here.
For the
Extend your,
dispersion.
yeah, right. It extends your range, but it also helps your dispersion at closer. Rudder, now steering gears. Why did you pick steering gears instead of propulsion?
I found it was a bit slow to turn.
Okay. Let's take a look at maneuverability. So rudder shift time is 13.73 seconds. Now that's with the steering gears. So without steering gears, it's closer to 15. I've always said, for me personally, if I need under 15 seconds for battleships, under 10 seconds for cruisers, and under 5 seconds for destroyers. So if that rudder shift time is above 13.73, then or above 15, I should say, then it makes perfect sense. Let me just do this real quick. Switch to propulsion, and let's see what that number changes to. Oh my god, 17.6.16. So, okay. I can totally see you going for steering gears. Concealment makes sense, and then you went for accuracy, of course. I've played one game so far in Illinois. I did the opposite. I went for reload, and I found that it just wasn't that helpful unless I got really up in somebody's face. Are you using a special captain on this Gaelic?
I think I've got Halsey on it.
That's the way to go. So, all right. So with Halsey, you get the buffed gun feeder and the buffed grease the gears. Both make perfect sense. You've gone for emergency repair specialist, into gun feeder, into basic survivability, into demolition, concealment, into gun feeder, adrenaline rush, and then finally AA defense. Okay. I'm curious, why didn't you go for more survivability skills? Typically, battleship players, you want fire prevention and possibly emergency repair specialists as well.
No idea. It's just what I chose.
Okay.
Still playing around with the commander though.
Fair enough. Let me share it, if you don't mind. I'll share how I would build it, and you are more than welcome to follow or change yourself. But this is probably the setup I would do in my Illinois. What, I'm missing something. I'm probably would go for repair party readiness. I'd probably do something like this to make it a very tanky build. Now, there's the nice thing about the ship is there's a lot of other kinds of things that you can do. So you can also say go brisk and pick something else at tier 1. Patton says you don't need fire prevention on low health, high healing ships. So, hey, whatever. But that's the build that you've got. Let's move on. You've got anti-det, anti-fire. You got your fire chance, secondaries, concealment or consumables, I mean, and heal boost. Okay. You did not go for ship speed. The other one is, of course, anti-air. I find whenever I boost anti-air, I ward off carriers that way. So, it's just one way to get rid of them.
Yep.
Let's get to your replay. Now, this is a ranked battle. Okay. Have you been enjoying the Illinois?
I have actually.
Okay. Good, good. For those of you who aren't in the know about the Illinois, she is an American battleship. She's an Iowa hull. So if she looks like an Iowa to you, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. But what they've done is they've set it up with Des Moines 8-inch guns. And of course, instead of Des Moines triple turrets, they've added an additional gun. So these are quad turrets. So you've got...
To me, it doesn't feel like a battleship. It feels like a super cruiser. A kind of cross between Alaska and Puerto Rico.
And that's what you're going to do with her, right? You're going to play her more like a cruiser that just happens to be super tanky. They did slow the reload down to Buffalo levels instead of the original.
Yeah,
so it feels...
second reload.
Yeah, they got rid of the secondaries too. They made it so it's not, the secondaries aren't as effective.
So at the start of the game, I was going to go where I was going, but I changed my mind. I changed direction.
What made you change direction?
Well, as you'll see in the game, you'll see a Georgia going up close to the one line. And I didn't want to get crossfired from Vladivostok and Brindisi, so I thought,
okay,
reduce the chance of getting hit from one ship, i.e. Georgia. I thought I'll just go down beside the island and I'll keep focus on the Vladivostok, which I first saw, and just concentrate on him.
So, I like the idea that your battleships are splitting up. The Musashi splitting up, Bismarck. Now you're kind of pointing towards mid. The enemy battleships are... You've got the you got the Vlad. Yeah, okay. Your enemy battleships are splitting up too, which is unusual in ranked. I've seen so many times when people just stay together. But the nice thing is that, one, you're firing from free. Two, you can just keep the Vladivostok lit on fire forever.
Yeah, I can keep them busy. Plus, because of the high arc of the shells, I can get over the island.
Mm-hmm. I see that. So you're firing for free. You're not even detected while you're shooting.
Yeah.
Now, I do like, on your team, you've got a Salmon and Musashi that are working together over at the sea cap. Whereas it looks like, aside from the Pommern, nobody from the enemy team went to sea. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 ships south of B. 5 is the Pommern, and then the 6th, of course, is the enemy Saipan. So your Salmon should be able to go into sea and take it basically for free, but it looks like he's afraid to do so. That's unfortunate.
And I feel Illinois is pretty good at doing fires.
Yeah, she
That's
should
why
be.
I
She's a
picked
cruiser.
demolition expert.
So yeah, so demolition, and then when you add on top of that the fire chance flags, right? Like you have, that definitely helps. Now we saw there AP. My experience with AP, it's only useful at close range. I don't find it helpful farther back. I would probably continue to shoot HE at the Vlad here. Or, if you want to shoot AP, I would not shoot it in the middle. I would shoot the front or the stern of the ship. Your first salvo, for example, hit the front. Oh, you're pinged, so you know the sub is nearby.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the sub. Did you see the sub?
Yep.
It's to your right. So the reason that's important is because what I've gotten the habit of doing is clicking the minimap where the ping is occurring.
Yeah.
Just to let everybody else kind of understand, hey, there's a threat over here.
Yeah.
And then everybody's watching for that ping.
Plus, I kept an eye on the ping as well, so I repositioned myself.
All right, now keep shooting at the Vlad. And instead you look at a beached Brindisi and say, I kind of wish you'd stay on the Vlad and just kill it. But I understand the draw of a broadside beached Brindisi.
Yeah.
But what that does is that gives the Vlad time to heal up, and of course the Vlad is, well, it's the Vlad, right? It's very difficult to kill it.
Yeah.
All right, Pommern has pushed through CCAP.
I don't normally island hug, but in this game I did.
I think what you're doing here makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you island hug? It's preventing the sub from being able to do anything about you.
And as you can see on the minimap, Georgia is working his way up where I said it would. So I'm kind of concentrating on the Vlad and the Brindisi and making sure that Georgia doesn't get free hits somehow.
Well, and this I think is a key decision point, because you either choose to stay here, in which case you're forced to move forward if the Georgia keeps advancing, or
Yeah.
you can start reversing here and then keep the island between you and the Georgia while you keep working down the Vlad. If you reverse here, you do get more opportunities for dodging and maneuvering. However, you have less opportunity to influence the battle, of course.
Yeah.
Now, there is a sub in ACAP. You are, you know it's being capped. So what I would do here is actually just luck chuck ASW planes onto the ACAP, because your planes will go over the island next to you, and that's a really good opportunity to get lucky. And
I'm just
because of-
making sure I don't get any kind of fire from both fronts.
Sure. Now, if you look at the way that the spotter plane is moving, I might put the ASW planes on the extreme edges of the ACAP, and you know, you might not hit anything with your ASW, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you might. And if you hit the sub, I mean, hey, why not, right?
Yeah.
All right. So how are you going to deal with the Georgia? Are you going to back up, or are you going to move forward?
I'm leaving him to last.
You what?
I'm leaving him to last because he was obviously obsessed in getting the carrier.
All right. So in other words, you're moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to move forward, the only problem with that is, of course, you know there's a sub over by A. So
Yeah.
you moving forward, that puts you into risk of that sub plus the Brindisi. I might have actually just reversed and then got shots on the Georgia and worked with the carrier to take the Georgia down relatively quickly
Yeah.
without letting the sub, you know, take you down. But I suppose that if the sub is also going after the carrier, you backing up would put yourself in front of the sub. So this is fine too. Nice citadel on the Brindisi.
I also found that Illinois shells I thought were a bit floaty, so I had to aim a wee bit further forward than I would normally do.
They're Des Moines shells, so they do seem to have a bit of drag on them, don't they? Brindisi gave you two nice citadel salvos there, so now it's time to switch to HE, I'd say.
I think it just stayed where I was in the AP.
Well, look at what happened. He just overturned, and you got the citadel again. He's trying to get his torpedoes on you. That's why he turned so much, probably.
Yeah.
So I would probably be reversing here just to make sure that the other ones don't get out there. Putin, you and I are a very like mind, but we've always been like that, haven't we? Man, this Brindisi really wants you dead.
Yeah.
Possibly at the expense of his own life. Your parcel is quite low, unfortunately. Georgia is continuing to smack him around.
Yeah.
Patton says at this point you have to charge the Georgia. He could. I would also say now might be a good idea for you to charge south and try to get the ACAP, but also then take out the Saipan. I mean, it's a Saipan. If it was a Kaga, I might be more inclined to try to kill the carrier.
Yeah. I thought maybe the sub would have went for the CV because he's got a free run on him now.
Well,
But I'm not sure if I can't remember if he did or not.
so I would say one, and I don't mean this in the most negative of ways, but I always assumed that my my teammates don't really quite know what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think of, all right, I see a Saipan, I see the carrier, I'm gonna try to help kill that dude because what else can I do? The other thing is you observe players over time. That Saipan sat in C-cap, afraid to go in the C-cap
Yeah.
for the longest time. He did get the kill on the Palmer, but there was kind of a lot of what the heck just happened here moments. So I wouldn't expect too much out of the Sam. I like that your Musashi went to face the Georgia here. I think that is crucial because it's going to give you the flexibility to dismiss the Brindisi, possibly kill the Saipan, and then turn around and deal with the Georgia.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought, okay, so Georgia's going to be busy with the Musashi and not bother about me, so I'll just carry on where I'm going.
Oh man, this Brindisi. Very nice of
Yeah.
him to give you so many broadsides like that.
So many nights of him to give me so many citadels.
Yeah, exactly. He's just giving them all up. Now, we haven't seen the sub in a very long time, so what I might do is spectate the Musashi while you get into position here for your next moment, which is probably to get into the B cap.
Yeah.
I'd be looking at the Musashi to see if submarine torpedoes are coming at him. He's using ASW, so they probably are. He's probably got a sub right by the Georgia.
Yeah, well, after that, after the sub was pinging where he was to start with, and that was the only time I ever saw the sub, if I remember rightly. No, I think I saw the sub once more.
Well, the Musashi just took out the sub, so he was pinging too much,
Yeah.
and oof.
The AP
I'm
guns
flexing.
hit pretty good on here too.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm saying the AP shells are pretty good.
Well,
I mean, look at that, it's 10 citadels.
you've definitely demonstrated. I mean, these are improved bounce angles or pen angles, I should say. So, um, you're definitely demonstrating that. Now, I would probably go into the B cap here and just grab the cap. The Georgia, you know, is going to charge you, and my
Yeah,
thinking
I
on
know.
this is, getting the cap is just insurance that you're going to win.
Well, I saw the Brindisi going for the cap, so I didn't bother. So I
Fair.
thought I'd keep Georgia occupied.
Okay.
Well,
Also very
well,
fair.
while Brindisi try and get in the cap, because he's got a gap there he's got to go past.
Mm-hmm. Saipan, by the way, did a terrible job of trying to do something to you afterwards. So you're kind of lucky there as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I see the Georgia, and I could tell that looking at the minimap, I would say the Georgia could probably get a broadside on on our Brindisi.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd keep him occupied while Brindisi gets in the cap.
Good idea. Now, as Puddin says, you could go for the ram here, because obviously.
That was my plan.
Okay. Now, the problem with going for a ram is if you miss the ram, you can potentially throw your ship away.
Yeah.
So, you have a bit of a pro-con debate in your mind, right? Like, which do I
Yeah.
want to do?
Well, my idea was go back to HE, try and get him on fire, and try and get a ram and see which one works.
And it worked for you.
Well, I kind of kept my nose pointing straight to him.
Mm-hmm.
I also found out a lot of players seem to want to turn broadside to get all their ships on, and they
Yep.
don't need to do that. They don't really need to do that,
Mm-hmm.
especially at close range. They don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm. Ash is, or Patton, I'm sorry, is suggesting to use AP on the nose there. And that's true because you'll full pen the nose or even, or at the very least, overpen, and that's guaranteed damage. Up close and personal, sure. Um, but I mean, he was dead anyway.
Yeah,
So that, I mean, that's a nice game. I mean, I get the feeling you're very comfortable in the ship,
like I
and
said, it doesn't feel like a battleship. Feels more like a heavy cruiser.
sure,
I kind of compare it between a mid section of Alaska at Tier 9 and Puerto Rico at Tier 10.
yeah. No, the only thing that I would do is like the only feedback I give to you is early on there. focusing down that Vlad, not worrying about the Brindisi because he probably can't do too much about, to, deal
Yeah,
with
well,
you.
I was trying to get him to kind of move out of the way so I could focus on the Vlad.
Yeah. I mean, it
Reduce
worked.
reduce one ship to focus on another ship,
Mm-hmm.
and then go back to that ship.
Right.
And then it just so happens the saipan came into view, and I just took the shot.
Patton also says you can be more aggressive. Yes.
You
I would
can be more aggressive, but
I
sometimes
would
you're gonna get focus fired if you get too aggressive.
so looking especially at this part of your replay, had you gotten more aggressive, you'd come up broadside to the Georgia. He was definitely going for the carrier, but um I don't know. You against the Georgia and the sub, I can totally see why you were playing cautiously here. I
Yeah, well,
wouldn't
I
want
had
to
no
push
idea
that.
where the sub was after
Yeah,
that first initial ping, so he could have been anywhere. He
right.
could have been sneaking round behind me.
Oh my god, Big O, thank you for the sub, dude. Tier 3? Oh, you want all the replays covered.
Bigel Andrew just
So I was
resubscribed for
initially
10
going for the
months.
ram on the Georgia, but I was trying to take the focus fire off the Brindisi from the Georgia at the same time so Brindisi
Sure.
can get in the cap.
And I mean, here it is. Very nice. Very nicely done.
Not as good as Sea Raptor's first attempt, but close.
Well, it's hard.
Louisiana.
But like you going back to the equipment, rudder shift,
Mm-hmm. That came in handy for
Iowa,
you, didn't it?
Iowa hull. I got rudder shift on the Iowa as well, and I feel it turns a lot better. I didn't when I first played this, I didn't think it was turning enough that I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I put the rudder shift on.
Well, and that's the reason why modules exist, so you can personalize the experience. And
Yeah,
if that's working better for you, then that's what you do. No
yeah,
problem with it.
yeah.
Well, Gaelic, I appreciate all the support and everything, but I appreciate you saying the replay. That was a really great replay of the Illinois. So thank you, man.
Thank you very much. I know it's a new ship, and I know it's still got teething problems, but I just hope everybody enjoyed how I played it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was, um, I would say so far that's probably your strongest replay that you've ever sent. So that was really cool to see.